Hi everyone, thanks for joining. We're just making sure everyone can get in from the waiting room. Okay, I think we'll make a start. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah, perfect. Just as a side note, throughout this webinar, please feel free to use the chat function as much as possible. I'll try and keep an eye on it. But these lessons, these sessions will work best if they remain interactive. So my name's Anna. I'm a sixth year at Cardiff University. So I've kind of come full circle now, even though it feels kind of yesterday that I was in your position and thinking about personal statements and applying to medicine. So this is our personal statement bootcamp series. So this will be taking you through kind of how to write a personal statement, you know, what one even is, top tips for it, and basically just opening up some discussions about how to best go about the personal statement. So first of all, if you're not familiar already, we are Medic Mind. So we are a company of doctors and students who help with university applications. Not only this, we've also helped over 10,000 students with their GCSEs, A-levels, UCAT, BMAT, interview, personal statement. You might have already been familiar, or we might be new to you. Really recommend, if you want any help with anything, whether that be school or applications to things like medicine or dentistry or veterinary, to get involved. I wish I'd known about something like Medic Mind when I was applying, because it can feel like a bit of a minefield. But yeah, we're here to help in any way that we can. Okay, so just another note before we start, we also host a few free webinars. So if you want to screenshot this page or scan it, that will take you through to the link that enables you to sign up to those free webinars. So I'll just give a couple of seconds or so you can take your screenshots of that if you want to. I think we've still got a few people coming into the waiting room as well. So okie dokie. So first of all, what is a personal statement? So when you're applying to any university course, you'll be writing a personal statement, but it's a little bit more of a task when you're applying to something like medicine, dentistry, veterinary, because you're showing the university admissions team that you are a really good candidate for medicine and then for the career that follows on from that course. So it's a little bit like a mini essay about yourself. You're basically showing admissions tutors why you're suitable for their course. And that might be skills you already have, or it might be skills that you feel like you've demonstrated through work experience or job roles or volunteering roles, or things that you've learned through your work experience. I like to think of it as kind of the one part of your application where you're not necessarily just like a number. So, you know, when you're applying through UCAS, it's all sort of put in your GCSEs, put in any degrees you have, things like that. Your UKCAT, or it's called UKCAT in my day, UCAT score. But your personal statement before the interview is that opportunity to kind of show yourself as a person. It's about 4,000 characters, which sounds like a lot, but it's actually only around 500 words. It's basically like a page of A4. So yeah, you don't have a lot of character space, but in a way that can be a bit of a blessing in disguise, because you know, you don't have to fill too much. You will arrive at 4,000 characters quite easily. And it's alongside your UCAS application that you submit this. So the latest it can be submitted is the 15th of October at 6 p.m. So really important deadline, not to be missed. But yeah, it goes along with the rest of your application. Oh, sorry, I'm going to continue going the wrong way because I'm not used to using PDFs for sharing slideshows. Okay. So this is where we're going to get a little bit interactive. So I think what would work best, given that there's almost 200 of you, which is lovely to see you all, thank you all for coming. I'm going to ask, why is your personal statement important? And if you can tell me in the chat function, that would be probably best. I mean, you can, if you feel like you want to raise your hand using the raise hand function and then unmute yourself and speak, you can do that too. Just don't want to get too many people unmuting at the same time. So any ideas in the chat? Why is the personal statement important? Yeah, so helps you sell yourself, gives the university an idea of why you're the ideal candidate. Fab. Any other ideas? Show your skills, shows why you're suitable, show who you are as an individual with your experiences, allows you to show who you are. What? Oh gosh, we're getting a loads. Allows you to share who you are and why you want to study the course and what makes you stand out from the rest. Fab. So this is one of the key things with the personal statement that I think can feel a little bit like a task, but actually, you know, as you start to write about yourself, you will find your niche. It's making your personal statement unique to you. You've got to think to yourself, the admissions tutors are reading lots and lots and lots of these. How can I make mine unique and find that lesson I've learned that's unique to me, or sell that skill I've got that's unique to me? Yeah, shows why you want to study medicine, gives you an opportunity to show who you are apart from your grades. That's perfect. Yeah, tells the university about you outside of the academics. So this is another thing that we'll probably come on to talk about a little bit later in the series. Sometimes people are a little bit afraid to show a non-academic side on their personal statements. Don't be afraid of that, because even that is brilliant to show that you can give a work-life balance and that you've got more than the academic side. But also, you know, things like hobbies and things that you do outside of your education give you a lot of transferable skills that you would then use as a doctor, a dentist, a vet. You know, for example, if you're a person who plays a particular sport, that takes dedication. It takes dedication to do medicine. So there's all kind of these links that you can make. So definitely don't be afraid of showing that side. Shows qualities, describes why you wanted to apply. Perfect. Who you are as a person, not just your grades. Showcase your personality, experience, achievements, future ambitions. Fantastic. So you all got the exact right idea. This is what you want to be getting across in your personal statement. It's less of sort of like a resume of sort of just, here's a list of things I've done, and more sort of telling the universities about you as a person. Your motivation's perfect. Okay, let's move on then. So any ideas on how it is used? Anyone got any ideas for that one? It's okay if no one knows. Read before interview as a conversation point, ask questions during interview, for interview as a filter system to determine between two close candidates, judge a character, depends on the uni. Fab. That's the short answer. It depends on the uni. So when you're looking at your universities, you really want to look at their application process and how they filter through their applicants. And it will differ for every uni and it will differ every year. And some will really value the personal statement and perhaps look at that first, and some will maybe not look at it so much. So you just need to kind of have an idea of how your desired unis look at your personal statement, and then kind of think about that and have that in the back of your mind when you're writing it. So for examples, yeah, others don't use it at all. Yeah, check for plagiarism and to judge. Fab. Inform their decision to offer an interview or place. Yeah, fab. In my year when I applied, I remember, I think it was either Bristol or Cardiff that particular year, had on their website that they were looking for 4 domains of the personal statement, and that kind of then would help me to structure my personal statement to make sure I was ticking those domains. Others, it will be the first thing they do is look at your UCAT score. So definitely just have an idea of this, because it will differ. And then you will get some universities that will ask you about your personal statement. So again, what you need to do there is sort of think, well, what things do I want to include? It's kind of like leaving things on the table for your interviewers to ask you things about. So if I think back to my application, I talked about my EPQ in my personal statement. And had I gone to any interviews that asked about personal statement, because I didn't, I would imagine potentially that would have been a discussion point to talk about my EPQ. Okay. Fab. Okay. Right. Any ideas on how you would structure your personal statement? Introduction, fab, great start. Please, can we have advice for gap year students too? Yes. I should mention as well, we're going to be having a Q&A at the end. So any specific questions, definitely make note of them kind of as we go along, because I think it'd be easiest for us to speak to you at the end in the Q&A. We'll have a good 15 minutes at the end. Okay. Hobbies, yes. Experience in your life, motivations, why you want to do it. Describe how you develop interest in the medicine first. Yeah. About yourself, your motivation, work experience, hobbies, fab. Okay, well done. Yeah, all really, really good ideas. Okay, so there's no set guideline on how you have to structure your personal statement. It's very much kind of what you feel is right. But there's definitely, if you're struggling, kind of a rough one that you could follow. So you want a brief introduction. You want to catch the reader. You want, when they're reading 1,000 of these, you want to kind of find that statement that makes the reader want to read on. Okay, so whilst maybe starting with, I am fascinated by the human body is really true and really great and really, I believe you entirely. That's why people go into things like medicine and dentistry. It's potentially not the most unique way to start your personal statement. So you've got to have a think about this. Then you can kind of go into why you want to study medicine. So it could be a paragraph on its own, or, you could kind of weave this in throughout. Then you want to talk about what you've gathered from work experience and volunteering. And with the work experience and volunteering, what I often say to students that I tutor for personal statement is you kind of want to follow 3 steps. So the first is kind of say what you did. So that's just describing, I shadowed a GP, I had a volunteering role in a care home, whatever it is that you've done. And it doesn't have to be healthcare related, because you will have learned a lot from non-healthcare related things as well. So the first step is to kind of say what you did. The second step is to kind of pick up on a particular lesson or multiple lessons and skills that you've observed have been really important. So for example, say I shadowed in a GP, I'd want to describe that I've shadowed the GP. And then maybe I want to focus in on learning about the importance of communication and kind of how communication differs with different patients. That's really good because it shows that you've kind of reflected on your experience rather than just saying, I did X, I did Y, I've done this really long list of things, but without sort of reflecting on them and going into depth. And then finally, and I think the point that most people tend to forget, you've got to link it back to you and your application and your personal statement. So let's say with that example, I've observed the importance of communication. How can I link this back to me? Well, potentially I've worked to develop my own communication skills through something else that I've done. So back when I was applying, I was working as a lifeguard. So I might say, I feel I've developed these communication skills as a lifeguard working with the public. And then kind of what you're doing there is you're showing I've identified this really important skill that I observe the doctors and the healthcare team doing. And then I've picked it out and shown insight into medicine by doing that. But then I've kind of automatically told the med school, I'm a good candidate because I've got this foundation for medicine of this skill that I've clearly identified is important. I hope that makes sense. But kind of anything that you're saying in terms of a work experience or volunteering role, you can kind of follow those 3 points roughly, and you should be able to go into depth rather than writing a list. Okay, you also want to talk about some activities such as wider reading, leading a sports team, part-time jobs. So again, this was what I was kind of saying earlier, people can be a little bit nervous to put non-academic things in an academic application, but definitely don't. I mean, some universities do value the academics more than others, so it might be less applicable to talk about too much of your life outside of medicine. Say if you're applying to Oxbridge, I don't have any experience of that myself, but I think, you know, if you're applying to be someone who's going to be a doctor, a vet, a dentist in the future, it doesn't make sense to me personally to not talk about a life outside of medicine, because you're going to need work-life balance, and you're going to want to show that you're a human being rather than just this academic machine. Okay, and you also want to reflect on your skills and how you've gathered these throughout, and then maybe a nice concluding statement. So I hope that kind of clarifies a potential structure that you could use. Okay, if you started, can you raise your hand on Zoom? We're just going to get an idea of who's started. Okay, so quite a few hands going up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, fab. Okay. My piece of advice here, the earlier you start, the better, because you're going to be writing lots and lots of these drafts, and, you know, I feel like it can just feel a little less overwhelming if you start a little bit earlier. Sorry, I'm just gonna, my Zoom's gone a little bit funny. Okay. Right, so how have people started? Pop some ideas on the chat. How have you gone about starting? Or if you finished, how did you start? First experience in a hospital. Okay. So did people brainstorm? Did they kind of just go into whacking something down on paper and seeing where they got? Read a few other ones. Really good to look at others. Yeah. Made a mind map. Do you recommend extracurricular stuff for graduate applicants too? Yes, absolutely. Show that you'll have this life outside of medicine. It's really, really good. How interest started. Work experience, fab. Read others, saw what was applicable to me. Is there a way to check that yours has been plagiarized? Because, okay, so I wouldn't say there's necessarily a formal way to check plagiarism. I'd say if you used other ideas from people, it depends the depth that you've used them. Obviously, you don't want to go anywhere near taking someone's word for word account. I would have a go maybe just trying to really, really put it into your own words. If it was like a lesson that you've taken from a work experience, often those are similar across personal statements because we all kind of get exposed to the same sorts of experiences in our work experience. But yeah, I would definitely just be careful of that one, because it's just not worth it. Like you might as well just say it in a different way, or pick another lesson or something. Wrote how I improved leadership, motivation to study medicine, mind map. Is there any proportion you would suggest of academic to non-academic? I'd say maybe 2/3, a third, 3/4, a quarter, that being academic to non-academic. I just think it's a nice little paragraph at the end to talk about outside of medicine, dentistry, academics in general. Okay, yeah, so you all kind of started with ideas, read some others, and kind of saw where you went from there. Brilliant. So if you haven't started, that's okay. That's honestly okay. Like I say, the earlier you start, the better. So some things to think about. We think it's potentially an idea to do that mind map. you want to really start that mind map so you can start reflecting, because like I say, you don't want to just make a list of things you've done and just submit a list. It needs to be lessons you've learned from those list points. So for example, have you done something academic, like a poster presentation? And from that, I'm going to think about, okay, well, what did I learn from that? Well, I learned presentation skills. I learned public speaking skills. And then not only that, I'm going to link that to my future career in healthcare, and why those skills are important, and where in those jobs are they going to help me. Okay, sorry, I just keep my eye on the chat. That's why I keep stopping and starting. Okay, social, being a volunteer at the end of the month or at a local care home. So yes, think about the social lessons you've learned from that, not just sort of, you know, learning about the academic side of linking it to the academic side of medicine. You've got to think about the social side to these careers, and the fact that we are working with people. Highlight key skills, e.g. leading a project as a prefect. Okay, so you want to think about positions of responsibility. Do you have a position of responsibility, whether that be within school or something you do outside of school? So maybe you're a captain of a team, maybe you've acted as a committee member or something like that. It's always nice to get a roles and responsibilities paragraph in there. The trigger for wanting to study medicine is a lovely way to start your personal statement, because often those are unique. There might be a particular experience. Again, I keep saying medicine here, but every time I say medicine, I also mean dentistry and veterinary and whatever healthcare course we're talking about. And also what built your interest. So what you want to do here is very much avoid the cliches. So whilst it's might be very true that since the age of 4, you knew you were going to be a dentist and you've wanted to do nothing else since, it comes across sometimes as a little bit cliche. So you want to be honest. So personally for me, when I applied, I didn't really start thinking about medicine until I was about 16. And it was okay for me to be honest about that. No one's going to say to you, oh, well, you haven't got commitment then because you haven't wanted to do this your whole life. If that commitment to medicine, dentistry, whatever, came a little bit later in life, be honest and say what it was that that interested you. Okay. Okay, just in the interest of time, we're going to move on. Okay, introduction then. So we're going to go through some examples. So like you said earlier, and examples helping you start the personal statement. Examples can be really good to kind of pick apart, and then with the lessons you've learned, go back to your personal statement and see if you can implement the same ideas. So I'll just read this one out. So my initial interest, this is an introductory paragraph. My initial interest in medicine stemmed from my excitement of human biology. Each time I reflect upon the sheer complexity and seemingly impossible intricacy of the human body, I feel awestruck. It seems incomprehensible that during each cell division, a 30-book set of Encyclopedia Britannica's worth of information is copied. What's equally fascinating is how doctors are able to fix the complexities of the human body. Okay, so I want some ideas from you guys. What do you think of that, first of all? Do you think it's good? Bad, bit too long, too wordy, too many complicated words. It's unlikely they speak like that normally. Quite wordy, clearly have passion, wasting characters. It's interesting, too much use of stuff. Bad, too colloquial. Good, but too wordy. Waffle, generic. Yeah, these are all really, really good ideas. Yeah. Comparison use seems like unnecessary filler, not personalized, not saying not unique. It's the same, not unique. Fab. Really, really well done. You've definitely all grasped the point of this exercise. It's a little bit too wordy. They're definitely in the interest of character count, when you've got so much to get through and you want to really get into the nitty-gritty about your work experience and you as a person, this might be a little bit too long and wasting character count. How do we think we could improve it? Okay, so people are saying they thought it was amazing. Now, I will caveat, it is really good, it's just wordy, okay? So it's a really lovely way to have started, and I do believe their sort of excitement and passion for medicine, but it is a little bit too wordy. It's a little bit like, where is the first full stop? Okay, so after that first line, I mean, let's take that first sentence. My initial interest in medicine stemmed from my excitement of human biology. Is that unique? No. So I'm the admissions tutor. I've got thousands of these to read. That's the first sentence I read. Is that any different from the other 999 I've read that day? Probably not. The second sentence, now if I was reading this as an actual personal statement, the second sentence is a lot more unique and a lot more different. Perhaps they could show how this knowledge impacted their decision to pursue medicine. Fab. So start making it about them rather than talking about medicine in general. You don't want your personal statement to sound like a bit of a lecture about what medicine is and what doctors do or what dentists do. You don't want that. You want to be linking it to you. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely different. And to be honest, it's your personal statement. It's up to you what you want to write. And as a reader, I quite find that fact about each cell division of a 30-book set of encyclopedias quite, you can almost feel that person's personality coming through a little bit. Like that's a fun fact that they would share with you in uni. Yeah, it's literally like 350 characters to say two things. That's exactly the point we're getting across. It's too wordy. The ideas are right, but A, the first sentence is no different from a lot of personal statements, and B, it needs to get to the point a little bit quicker, okay? So potentially that second sentence would stay if I was giving feedback on this personal statement. Potentially need to make it a little bit more personal, okay? Okay, I'm just reading your guys' comments. We will come back to questions. The first and second sentence would be enough. Yeah. I potentially even think about, could the first and second sentence become one sentence? You know, we are only talking about an introductory paragraph. You want to kind of open up the personal statement to make that reader read on, okay? They could add a personal touch, absolutely. First and last sentence would be enough. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so let's have a look at another one. So I'm going to go the wrong way. Right, I'll read this one. My initial interest in medicine stemmed from my excitement of human biology. Each time I reflect upon the sheer complexity and seemingly impossible intricacy of the human body, I feel awestruck. It seems incomprehensible that during each cell division, a 30-book set of Encyclopedia Britannica's worth of information is copied. Don't think the last part is necessary. Last sentences are relevant. Better is it's more straight to the point, but still too much detail. Last sentence not linked. It's kind of the same thing, yeah. But I'd say last parts are a cool fun fact to throw in. You're not wrong. And this is sort of where it comes down to, it's your decision. It's your personal statement. And it does come down to, you know, who is the person reading it. But it's definitely that whoever's going to be reading it, they're going to be most importantly interested in why you want to do that course. And I suppose by the second sentence, they've already got to that point. So it might be worth moving on. It's more about mitosis, biological processes, can be suited to a biology degree, not medicine specific. Maybe they could put a fun fact that's less wordy, needs to be more specific to medicine. The doctor part was good, something else could have been cut out. Yeah. It's irrelevant because no one would talk about the encyclopedia in real life. Yeah, you're not wrong. As fun as that fact is, it's potentially not as personal and not really showing that admissions tutor, who is this person I'm reading about? And like we said right at the beginning, we want to be selling ourselves in the personal statement. That is the whole purpose of the personal statement. And, you know, talking about cell division isn't about you necessarily. It doesn't mean that every single sentence in the personal statement has to be about you, but it certainly needs to be the overall ideas that are coming across. I wrote mine that it stemmed from attending a range of lectures. Should I go into more detail about what they're about? So what's more important is what you've taken away from those lectures. You don't necessarily have to say, it was about this, this is a fact, this is what we learned, as in terms of the facts. It's more, what interests you, what piqued your interest, and how are you relating that to medicine? Why is that affirming to you that medicine is the right decision for you? How would you talk about books? Okay, so it's very dependent on the books that you're talking about. So let's say it's like a more of a scientific non-fiction, kind of like, you know, I read the one, The Emperor of Maladies, I think, before I applied to medicine, which is all about cancer biology. You don't want to be spitting facts about the cancer biology book. It wants to be opened up my eyes to an aspect of medicine and taught me kind of, you know, how much we are still learning and we're always evolving in this career. And that's why this career is really exciting. Do you see how that's different to saying the cancer starts when the cell has a mutation and then this and then that? It's not about you, okay? Okay. Can you talk about 24 hours in A&E, the programme? Yeah. Yeah. You get an insight into medicine through that, showing you the challenges of medicine. Yeah. Okay. In the interest of time, I think we'll move on. Okay. You guys get the idea. Okay. To the audience now, I'm going to ask you guys, why are you interested in medicine? What, I know that's like the age-old question. It's a little bit hard sometimes to pinpoint something, but we've got to start having these conversations so that you're ready for interviews as well. So what do we think? And if anyone wants to put their hand up, just make sure I can see. I mean, your hands are all still up from earlier on, so I don't know if someone's actually putting their hand up. Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to. But other than that, use the chat function and tell me why you want to do medicine. Applying a scientific basis to the care of patients, helping people in need, as well as having options of different areas, interest in science and social interaction, the fact that you can be saving someone's life. Been a cadet in the St. John's Ambulance for 7 years, so I've had first-hand casualty contact. Lovely. So you can open that personal statement and already make that so personal to you. Strongly academically abled in biology. People person, I know I don't want to work in an office or have a regular 9 to 5. Lovely. Past experience shadowing, working in a pharmacy. Fab. So these are all really, really good ideas. How it's turned to prevention, not just cures and finding the root cause. That's lovely. Okay, that's showing really good insight into medicine, that we are working, not always in the interest of cure, often in prevention. And also sometimes parts of medicine are more for patient comfort and quality of life. So that can be an interesting avenue to kind of explore in your personal statement. Everyone's saying kind of work experience. lessons learned from COVID-19. So you guys are in a really interesting position in that you're applying to healthcare post-pandemic. Well, in a world post lockdowns and things like this. And that's definitely an avenue to explore, because I think a lot of people would be like, can't think of anything worse than working in healthcare. And some people could think, can't think of anything better than working in healthcare post-pandemic. And when we're talking about, don't be afraid as well in your personal statement of exploring challenges of the career that you might foresee, because it's showing that insight into medicine if you talk about challenges. You know, so if you feel like there might be a post-pandemic challenge, you can explore that. Don't be afraid of that. That's really good. I know it's cliche, but I want to help people, but nothing more. Yeah. So just an example here, someone put in the chat, I want to help people, but nothing can compare to the feeling of patients smiling when they leave the hospital because of you. That's a really lovely way to say the age-old phrase of, I want to help people. So if there's one thing not to start your personal statement with, for medicine, kind of after, you know, years and years of these admissions tutor reading applications to medicine, we don't want to just write, I want to help people. We want to find a different way of saying it. So, you know, saying nothing can compare to the feeling of patients smiling, that I'm genuinely believing, and it's really authentic, that you're going to get such gratification from this job. And kind of by default, yes, you're going to be helping people. Because you work in a hospital. Yeah, personal experiences of family members being unwell. Yeah. Yeah, lovely, 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 lovely. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you the same to put in the chat. What are the pros and cons of medicine? Poor work-life balance. Pro, long life learning. How do you write about the challenges of working in healthcare without sounding too negative? You definitely want to give a nod to them. Often a good way to write about a negative, and this is a tip as well for interviews, follow it with a positive. So, or follow it with a way that you intend on tackling it. So I might say, one of the challenges of a career in medicine is antisocial work hours and a really heavy workload. How am I going to combat that? Well, I'm going to really, really try to keep my work-life balance wherever I can and really prioritize those things outside of medicine. For example, I'm going to make sure I go to the gym at least once a week. You know, things like this. It's as simple as that, showing that you're going to put steps in place to make it easier. And you can also say, you know, there are these challenges, but kind of the pros and the benefits and the reasons why I want to do medicine, kind of, even though I've considered the challenges, they outweigh it for me personally. Giving back. Yeah, lovely. Large workload, yeah. Encounter different patients. Have to be professional, stress, yeah. Yeah, lovely. Okay, really, really good. You've all got the right idea. Okay, so definitely have a think about those in your personal statement. Okay, move on to the next slide. Well, we'll keep doing that until I learn. Okay. So a little bit more on structuring your introduction in particular. You can talk about why you're interested in medicine. It's important to start with what's drawn you to medicine or science. After all, it is the focus of the entire personal statement. So you might as well, like any essay you've written in school, introduce what you're going to be writing about. But, you know, nothing like in this essay, I will, none of that. Focus on medicine as a degree or a profession. So think about why you want to do medicine, not what interests you, but why you want to do it. Is it the rewarding career? Is it the academic challenge? And another tip I would say is have a think about not only the course you're applying to, but also the career. So sometimes people weigh heavily to one side, but give a nod to if you talked about the career, give a nod to the course, or if you've talked about the course, give a nod to the career, because obviously these courses are different because we are kind of signing on to a particular job. It's not like saying, I'm going to go do English at university and I could go anywhere. It's like, I'm going to do medicine and I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to do dentistry, I'm going to be a dentist. I'm going to do veterinary, I'm going to be a vet. So kind of think about both. And then writing style, we want to be captivating and engaging. You want to grip the reader. So if you can think of something that's going to do that, definitely do it. And yeah, it's just that point again about them reading lots and lots. Okay, try to write naturally. So what we were talking about earlier, what they were saying didn't sound very natural. I don't think you'd sort of start talking about an encyclopedia to your friends at school. Try to write a short sentence which captures attention. Go straight into what makes you enthusiastic about medicine. You want to get across straight away, this is my interest, this is my motivation. I'm really excited to be writing this personal statement. It's kind of the idea you want to get across. Try to avoid being cliche. Think of catchy openings. You could write about why you're interested in medicine as a science, so particular topics you might be interested in. So it might be you're a budding oncologist and you're going to talk about how you're really interested in cancer biology, but you don't want to, like we said earlier, focus too much on almost giving a lecture about cancer biology. Okay. Should I talk about BMJ articles I've read? Yeah, definitely, as long as you're focusing on what you've taken from them rather than lecturing what they were about. Okay. Try not to talk about academic achievements in the introduction. Okay, so you definitely want to, whatever structure you go for, medicine focus, then talk about hobbies, academics, potentially just extracurriculars, things like that towards the end. Because if we open up with, I got top marks in my biology GCSE, or if you're a graduate, my biology A level, it's not setting you apart. So it's potentially worth putting that a little bit lower down if you want to talk about academic achievements. You could talk about why medicine, when talking about your trigger for wanting to study medicine, is it a problem if it's only focused on one part of healthcare? No. If there's one particular aspect you love, then talk about it. You could write about why medicine interests you as a career. So teamwork aspects, leadership, use of expert knowledge to apply to practical situations. Think about those things that you will be doing on a day-to-day basis and why that interests you. Okay. Just really quickly then, throw some skills at me that doctors and dentists need. Communication, timekeeping, patience, communication, hand-eye coordination, resilience, compassion, manual dexterity, determination, empathy, teamwork, patience, mentally strong, listening, problem solving, how to handle problems fast, empathy, the core values of the NHS, yeah, commitment, prioritising, integrity, lovely. You're all coming up with really, really great ideas. So here's just a couple of others for you to think about. Professionalism, so a little bit harder to write about in your personal statement because you're always going to be expected to obtain professionalism as a doctor or a dentist. Time management, so this is a really lovely one to link to things that you've already done. So if you've already shown time management skills, you're already setting yourself up great to be these future doctors and dentists. Working under pressure, again, is there a situation I've done this and then I can apply it to being this role. Organisation, all that's in there twice, got to be really organised. Competency, so maintaining that ability to do the things that you're doing, so always ongoing training. And obviously medicine is kind of this ever-evolving field. So it's quite interesting sometimes to talk about what we learn at the beginning of the career. It might be completely different than in 30 years. So that's quite exciting about medicine. It's always changing. Teamwork, empathy, ability to recognise English. No, that's me reading someone. Someone says they can't understand the English. Sorry. Ability to recognise weaknesses, leadership and communication. Okay, so just have a think about these and always link back to yourself. You can use the STAR approach. Okay, so it's really important not to just list those skills. You might want to use something like the STAR approach to show how you've shown them in the past. Okay, so there'll be lots of information on this online, and I'm pretty sure these slides are going up onto YouTube afterwards, or you should get sent them, so you can look there. But essentially, you go through a situation, a task, an action, a result, and a reflection. And it's just a really lovely way to make sure you're covering all bases when you're talking about skills. I want to leave enough time for questions, so I am just going to flick through this. Essentially, reflection is really important because it's going to show the admissions tutors that you've taken what you've done, and you've actually thought about why was that an invaluable experience. Okay. You can also use the Gibbs reflective cycle. Okay, so that's helpful questions you can ask yourself, like what happened, when and where did it happen, who was present, what did you do, what did other people do, what was the outcome, why were you there, what did you want to happen. Okay, so this is really good just to start getting you thinking, and put an experience in the middle of a piece of paper and just kind of brainstorm. Okay, and even if you don't end up using it for your personal statement, it'll still be really useful for interviews because you're going to be asked about particular scenarios in interviews that you've been through. So then that's just an example, using the idea of empathy, talk about the situation where it happened, briefly explain what happened, emphasis on the briefly because you've only got 5,000 characters, explain how the person felt, how they were impacted, evaluate it. So why is it important for a career in these courses, and then analysis of how you're going to use it in the future. Okay, final tips then. Make sure you reflect. Keep your introduction brief and enticing. Don't lie, okay? Never lie on things like this. Feedback, feedback, feedback. So get everybody to read it, okay? Don't be afraid of showing it to people, because if someone can give you one bit of feedback that you hadn't thought about, or maybe one idea, that will benefit you. So get loads of people to read it, okay? You might have also just missed out, like a word or a little bit of grammar. So it's really useful there as well. Start early and do your research, okay? So a good place to start sometimes can be the GMC Good Practice book. You will find this online, just search it in Google, and it kind of talks about the standard expectations of a doctor, okay? I don't know about dentistry, I'm sure there'll be a dental version. I can only speak for medicine. But yeah, have a look in there and sort of think, what are they looking for in a doctor, and can I show those skills? Okay, free resources. So like I said, GMC Best Practice, MedicMind UCAS Guide, and there's also a link there for you for the Gibbs Reflective Cycle if you want to use that. And you can also join our future webinars, okay? So they'll be every Thursday at 6. So we've got 4 more coming up. We're just kind of going to go into different parts of the personal statement in depth. And if I leave that QR code there, I think the next 4 as a package have been put on a discount for you using that QR code. Okay, so rather than £199, it's £159. Okay, and now I will just send a message to StudyMind.
Hi there, guys. Thank you so much, Hannah. You've done brilliant today, and I hope all the students have found the session quite useful. But yes, guys, the next 4 webinars, we will be going into more detail about each step of your personal statement, and we'll be showing you sort of live ideas as well with quite a few examples. This was just sort of the tip of the iceberg to show you how you should be starting, what sort of things you should be thinking about here. It's really useful to actually go for the course because a lot of our students have previously found it quite useful. We have had quite a few positive reviews on this. So I would highly recommend it. And, we do tend to also do personal statement checks. So if you want to give it over to us for someone like Anna to mark and to give you some written feedback, or even have a Zoom session with a tutor, we do also provide that. You can, again, access all of that through this Zoom link here. Or you can also use the QR code. This entire webinar has been recorded, and it will be available on the MedicMind YouTube channel. Towards the end of this webinar, I will post a link for that. If you guys were really happy with today's session, which I'm sure you were, we would really appreciate some feedback for Anna here as well. If you can just please mention her name, and I'll give you guys a couple of moments just to either scan that or just to take a screenshot. We will be going on to the Q&A. The Q&A will be on Mentimeter, so we do have to go on to a different platform. I will share the link for that. You can also use this QR code over here. So if you want to join the Q&A, please feel free to scan it now. Alternatively, what you can also do is also use the Zoom chat if you wish to ask any questions. I posted the link to Mentimeter in the Zoom chat, so if anybody wants to join there, that'd be great. The video has already been uploaded, so you can actually go ahead and access the video via our YouTube channel. So if you just search YouTube Medic Mind, you will see this on our YouTube channel as one of the most recent videos. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them on the Zoom link, in the Zoom chat or on the Mentimeter. I'm just going to share my screen towards the Menti slides that we have. And here's the link to the YouTube channel. Let me just share my screen for Mentimeter here. Okay. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to join over here. We'll be answering questions through here. Me and Anna will go through them. I'll take this one on the Zoom chat over here, Anna. When adding stuff for the second time, applicant, do you have any advice for adding details of a gap year? So very good question here, Gibran. I took a gap year myself. In fact, I took two, and I would probably advise you to perhaps during that gap year, try to get as much exposure as you can to any type of work experience. I know you guys might have some difficulty reaching out to certain hospitals or GP practices, but even volunteering for things where you can learn certain teamwork skills, even if it's not related to medicine. Remember, Anna pointed out quite a few of these skill sets that a doctor has. So anything relevant to those, you can reflect on that because, for example, teamwork, if you're doing a part-time job in a store or a shopping center, for example, or Morrison's, you'll be working as a team. And normally it is sort of similar to a multidisciplinary team because you have so many people doing different things and you pick up different types of communication skills over here. So again, try and make sure that you add extra things as you're going across in a gap year. You can add, you don't have to drastically change a personal statement again. You can use the same one, just add in the stuff that you've put in over that year. I think we're getting a few more questions. Shall we start with the Zoom ones, Anna? I think, do you want to take Tawheed's?
Yes, I'm just seeing a couple go through. Sorry, as I'm reading one, then one moves up. Can we use paid work experience in a care setting as a care assistant? Yeah, absolutely. Use paid jobs just as you do work experience jobs. Is it good to put down if you're from a war-torn country? Now, I read a personal statement earlier this week from someone who was a refugee, and to be honest, I told her in my feedback to move it further up in the personal statement because the experience she took from that personal experience was so unique and so interesting to read about that I was like, that would really capture the reader. So I don't think that's a bad thing to put in at all. Definitely go for it if it's something you feel comfortable putting in. How much should you talk about EPQ in your personal statement? Personally, I just said it taught me a side of medicine that people often forget exists. So things like research skills and essay writing and critical analysis. So it's really good for things like that. Sorry, I'm trying so hard to, but obviously don't use too many characters.
I think what we'll do, Anna, is we'll pick out some of the more important questions here. Because there are some that are coming out as quite popular. Yeah. For example, we have one here about work experience because a lot of students find it very difficult to get work experience. So I don't know about yourself, Anna, but when I was looking for work experience, I reached out to a lot of NHS trusts near me. If you search NHS trust, any of them, for example, let's say you're in Manchester, there was about 4 or 5 different trusts. There is always a work experience liaison officer You can find their contact details online and email as many of those hospitals as possible. They always have one person or a team of people working there for students who want to come on placement or work experience. You can reach out to that team. Now, if you still struggle, again, like I say, go back to basics and think about what you need to do as a doctor. You need to be a good leader. You need to be a good communicator. Where else can you get those sort of skills? Well, you can get a part-time job within a relevant field. You can volunteer at a care home. You can take part in certain activities in school. For example, if there's a programming club, or for example, if you're a prefect in school, you can also even speak to teachers at your school to see if you can make some sort of your own society. I've seen people do that, and that can be quite useful for your personal statement. Again, you don't have to put just medicine or dentistry work experience points in there that you have to have shadowed a doctor, for example. That isn't the point. You could have also shadowed a nurse, for example, and then take a note of the skills there. That's also totally fine.
Yeah. And I would say as well, don't be too worried about not having enough quantity of work experience, because it's quality over quantity. It's what can you take from that work experience. Personally, I struggled quite a bit in my sixth form years to get that hospital exposure, or any kind of exposure that wasn't like a voluntary role. It was more of like a hospital or GP setting. And I think I ended up only doing about 2 days, because that was where they could fit me into a hospital. But I learned enough in those 2 days to really draw some lessons from the work experience and put it in my personal statement. So don't be worried about having little, because it's about what you can say about any life experiences, even if they're not particularly direct to shadowing a doctor, for example. You will have learned things from a lot of other aspects of your life that you can talk about and apply to medicine.
Yeah. And I'm getting this question a lot from students as well. Can I use the same personal statement if I'm a gap year student? You can. That's totally fine. If you're applying to the same universities, however, I would recommend maybe adding a few more things just to update yourself, because if they come across you again, they have records of your old personal statement, it may not be a good picture. But again, it depends on the university. Some do not use the personal statements as heavily. Some use it as a sort of a last minute thing. For example, if you're on par with another student, you've got the exact same UCAT score, or they're picking between two students, then they'll use the personal statement. In that case, of course, you want the best possible one. If you're taking gap year, take advantage of that, get as much feedback as you can. Somebody's also asked, they had personal experience with volunteering, so they've taken care of somebody firsthand for 3 years. That's also a valuable, that gives you a lot of skills. You have direct sort of first sort of and care over there. That's totally fine. You can relate that to how that's taught you empathy for over the last 3 years, and it also sort of gives you communication skills as well, because sometimes when you're taking care of somebody for 3 years, there's different ways that you have to communicate with them. There's different ways you take care of them, and of course you can relate that back to the different skills of a doctor. So I think, guys, there's a lot of questions here, and we're running short on time. We'd love to answer each and every one of them, but unfortunately, this is a big topic, and it often takes several weeks to prepare for. Hopefully, if you guys decide to join the boot camp, that'd be great. If you guys can join that, we do help veterinary students, students for dentistry as well as medicine. We do have also support for students who are applying for law, engineering, physics, for example, as well, and many other subjects. So feel free to reach out to us. You can visit our website, make an inquiry over there, or you can email us at info@medicmind.co.uk if you want any support with personal statements. And again, if you want to join the Bootcamp series, which I would highly recommend, I'm just going to share this QR code for everybody again, whoever's missed it. It's a really good opportunity, and we'll be covering a lot of these questions over the next few weeks. So we have lots more sessions just like this. We'll have a lot more opportunities for you to get some valuable insight. So the rest of the webinars are paid for. This one was an introductory one to the personal statements. However, we will also be hosting extra sessions later on. And we do have a bursary scheme. If you visit our website, it's written on the website what the bursary scheme involves. We either give you access to our online study material for free, or you can get an hour and a half of tutoring as well for free. You would have to upload some relevant or sufficient evidence for that. Unfortunately, we can't answer any questions regarding personal statements over email, as we do have a lot of queries coming through. If you would like a tutor, however, to help you with personal statements, then we can actually help with that. So Samira, if you visit, if you just type in Medic Mind Bursary Scheme, it's all there. You will have access to a form as well where you can upload your evidence too. Just really quickly, Aman, what I said is you can search up the different NHS trusts. For example, if I use my medical schools one, we have the whole teaching hospitals. You can search up the hospital name or the trust name and then put in work experience liaison officer. What that will give you is a contact detail for that particular person who's in charge of organizing work experience for students. And if you contact them, they'll most likely help you out, get some work experience. It's liaison officers, so I'm just going to put that in the chat. Right. Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for today. And thank you very much, Hannah. You've done absolutely amazing. And I'm sure the students really found that quite useful. We wish you all the the best luck with applying for medicine, and hopefully you're all going to be future doctors. And we'll see you again, hopefully quite soon.